Alright, we are doing lesson 10.3, volume of spheres. This should not take us too long. Mainly, we're going to go over the formula, do pretty much 2 examples. On your homework today, you need to do it on a blank piece of paper to turn in to get the credit for it. So the homework will be on big ideas, but you do have to show what steps you are taking. Before you have your free time, you have to make sure you have lessons 1, 2, and 3 completed. Alright, so volume of spheres. We're going to find the volume of spheres. The way you can show me that you know that is use the formula to find the volume of a sphere and use the formula for volume of sphere to find the radius. The last one, not really something we're going to work on. We're only going to focus on spheres today. So, anyone remember 2 days ago, what is the formula to find the volume of a cylinder? Go on.
Times plus radius squared
Times by pi. No. For cylinder, not yesterday's. Cylinder. Volume is pi times radius squared times height. Okay? Cylinder. Volume equals pi times radius squared times height. Now, what about a cone that we did yesterday? Radius squared. Good. So a cone was the exact same thing. Volume equals pi times radius squared times height, but it's also times 1/3. Now, a sphere is different. For a sphere, we're still going to use our radius, but this time we don't have a height, and we're just going to use volume equals 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. And remember, cubed means it's radius times radius times radius. Okay? So, once we have that formula, the rest of today's assignment should be easy. So if you're following along and you see how to do this, and I'm going to show you how to use the calculator, the work that you have to show is minimal, and you let the calculator do all the work for you. So on A, first thing you should do when you're showing your work is write out your equation. Volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, and I look at the sphere and I say, what is it that I do know? I know my radius is 4. So volume equals 4/3 pi and then 4 to the 3rd power. Now, for the most part, that's going to be almost everything you have to show on your paper for your work, because now you're going to use your calculator to do the calculations. I've had to repeat this for a couple people in each one of the classes because they kept getting their answers wrong on big ideas and they can't figure out why. They're doing all the steps right. Do not use 3.14 yet. You want to use the pi button. If you use 3.14, your answer is going to be off by about 2/10. So when we use pi, and we actually use the long decimal, you're more accurate. The way I do this is I'm going to start with pi, and I'm going to times it by 4 to the 3rd power, which is 4 times 4 times 4. Now you can do this a lot of ways. It doesn't really matter because of commuter product multiplication. I could write times 4 times 4 times 4 and equals, or I could do 4 times 4 times 4. If I cleared this, 4 to the 3rd power of 64, and then do 64 times my pi, and we get the same answer. Doesn't matter. You can do it however you need to. So I have 201 point a long decimal. How do I multiply the 4/3? How do I use my calculator to multiply a fraction? Nathaniel? So exactly how we did the 1/3. So what would I multiply first? Yeah, we're going to multiply the 4. So you're going to multiply by your numerator, which is 4. So times 4 equals, And then you take that whole thing divided by your denominator, which was 3. And that's my answer. So I'm going to write down 268.08. 268.08. And it told me to round to the nearest 10th. This is my 10th. It's right after the decimal. So my answer is either 268.0. Your first option is it rounded down, it stayed the exact same answer. Or you rounded up one, 268.1. We find that answer by looking at the place value to the right. Because it was an 8, which means it's 5 or greater, we round up, and our final answer is volume is approximately 268.1. If I labeled centimeters cubed. Any question on how we did that in our calculator? Is the what? Yes. In this equation, this is the equation that you will use for all spheres. The only thing we did was substitute in what r was. We said r was 4, so we substituted that in there. It's a good question. Okay, what's different on B? We're not going to work all B, but what's different on B, Tyler?
You have to subtract.
Yeah. This was my diameter, was 10. Well, we need the radius. We need half of that. So radius is 5. We forget about the diameter. We don't care about that. Then, Nathan, like you said, I can just input all this in here. Volume is 4/3 pi. My radius is 5. And I have to cube it. And then we just do our work. If you're working on today's and you get confused, here are the notes for A and B. And this is pretty much all the work you have to show. Let the calculator do all the hard stuff. We're going to skip these 2 examples and you just work. But we're going to do one last one. This one is when I have to find the missing piece. We go about it the exact same way. Volume equals 4/3 pi radius cubed. I'm going to write down what do I know. Radius is missing. That's what I'm looking for. My volume is 288 pi. Do not forget the pi. A lot of people did this when we previewed this for math testing. They just said 288 and forgot about the pi sitting by it. If it's there, you got to put it in. Okay, pay attention. This one's not too hard, but there's only one trick that you need to make sure you understand. When I substitute this in, my volume was 288 times pi. 4/3 times pi. And we want to solve for my radius. So I want to find what r is. Alright, what do you feel we should do first? This is the part where you guys have to understand what you're doing. 288 times pi equals 4/3 times pi times r cubed. Now, radius is what we're going to solve for. It's red. Before I do anything to the radius and the 3, I got to get the red all by itself. So how do I get rid of 4/3 and the pi? Tyler, what would you do first? Nope, cannot subtract because on this side it's all being multiplied by. There is no addition. Go on. Nope, there's going to be something easier to do. You could, because of math, do that, but it's going to make everything a lot harder. Okay? I will say that. You could do 4/3 times pi, but then I'd have to do 288 times pi. So there's an easier thing to do first. should know this.
I'm not smart.
You've heard me do it twice.
Yeah, but I was gonna say something. I was working on my homework. That test. I was working on the test.
Go on, what do you think?
Do you move everything over? Answer 286.
How do I move it over? This is the part I know what to do, so I don't need it.
If you know the radius, don't you just like?
I don't know what the radius is.
No, what do you call like the
The
halfway
diameter?
diameter? If you know the diameter, then you should be able to know the
But we
radius.
don't know what the diameter is.
So you don't know anything?
I know what the volume is. I know the volume is 288 times pi. Tell me more.
The inverse.
Okay, what inverse? Okay. So on the right side, I'm multiplying, so you want me to divide. What do I need to divide by? Okay, that's my first step. I want to get rid of pi. On this right side, I'm multiplying by pi. So I'm going to divide by pi on both sides. And pi divided by pi is 1, or we eliminate it. On the left side, 288 times pi divided by pi, well, the pi's will eliminate. I'm left with 288 equals 4/3 times radius cubed. What do you mean, divide what?
288.
Okay, I want to divide by 4/3, but we don't divide by a fraction.
Ooh, I know. I'm not.
We change flip. So what would I multiply by?
288 over 1 divided by 3 over 4.
Good. Not divided by, we'd say multiply.
Multiply by 3 over 4.
So my fraction was 4/3. We're going to times by 3/4. So over here, 3/4. That means 4/3 and 3/4 will give me 1. Because that's 12 over 12, which is 1. So now I'm left with r cubed equals, and I'm going to do it on this calculator. How do I do 3/4 times 288?
You do the x where
Hold on,
you
what?
cross multiply.
No.
Do you cross
If you want to,
multiply?
you could do 3 divided by 4 and then do it and change it back into a fraction.
I could. I could do 3 divided by 4, and it simplifies to an easy, like,
Yeah,
terminating
you just
decimal.
Turn it back to
Why would I? Okay. Well, what am I going to do? 3/4 is 0.75. What would I do with it now?
I don't think about that.
Multiply it times what? We can do it times 288. And we get 216.
Yeah.
So I can take my fraction, make it a decimal, and then times it. We'd like to do that if it terminated the decimal. The other way is, how did we do this previous one? We did 4/3. Nathan told us. Take your numerator 3, times it by our number, 288. Then divide by your denominator. We still get 216. So I have 216 equals r cubed.
You have to cube it.
Good. The opposite of cubing is cube rooting. So what times itself is going to equal r. You probably didn't get all the way to the answer. If you're using your calculator, remember, you have to go your second shift on your calculator. It's going to say y root. The calculator saying, okay, like you gave me 216. I'm going to find the root to which power. How many times is the number times itself? And we're going to say 3. We get 6. So that means my radius is 6 inches.
That's a long process.
It is, but is it really that difficult? To be honest with you, that's one reason I would want to give you 20 of these. is because it's the exact same process, and once you do it 20 times, it's not like you're bored with math because you hate math. You're bored because it's too easy. And that's what this is. This is why this is boring to me. This isn't any fun to me because it's way too simple. It's doing the same process. It was really like 3 steps. Divide, multiply, cube. It was just too, there's no challenge in this one. Once you set up your main equation, it should be very, very easy. So, for today, your homework, you have 6 questions to do. You must do your work on paper. There's very minimal work that you have to show. Mainly, I need you to show me what is the equation and what did you substitute in, and then what's your answer. The calculator can do all the computation. I just need to see, to be honest with you, I need to see, I would say, that and that. So for each one, I need to see what did you do for your equation, and then what did you come up with your answer on your calculator. So your work is probably the least amount of work I'm ever asking you to show in math. So much work. All right, get started.